Welcome to the Horror Unmasked podcast,
where we unmask the monsters
and explore the lore.
I'm Amber.
And I'm Lily, and today we will be dissecting
Alien.
Let's Fight the Xenomorph.
The commercial towing spaceship Nostromo is on a return trip from Thaddeus to Earth, hauling a refinery and 20 million tons of mineral ore, carrying its 7-member crew in stasis. Upon receiving a transmission of unknown origin from a nearby planetoid, the ship's computer, Mother, awakens the crew. Mother summons Ship Captain Dallas for a private conversation and apprises him of the situation. Dallas informs the crew that they are only halfway to Earth. Dallas says that the signal that Mother intercepted was acoustical beacon, which repeats at an interval of 12 seconds. Following company policy and a clause in everyone's contract to investigate transmissions indicating intelligent life, they land on the planet. The crew does not have any choice, as if they fail to comply, it results in complete forfeit of shares, which means that the crew gets no money.
Bullshit.
Absolute bullshit.
The crew detaches the Nostromo from the refinery and lands on the planetoid, resulting in some damage to the ship due to the planet's jagged terrain. Captain Dallas, Executive Officer Crane, and Navigator Lambert set out to investigate the signal's source, while Warrant Officer Ripley, Science Officer Ash, and engineers Brett and Parker stay behind to monitor their progress and make repairs. Parker says that it will take 25 hours to repair the ship. Dallas, Kane, and Lambert discover that the signal is coming from a derelict alien spacecraft, which is shaped like a horseshoe. Weird, but
Yeah.
The spaceship itself is huge, with advanced equipment, well beyond the capabilities of humans. Inside it, they find the remains of a large alien creature whose ribs appear to have exploded outward from the inside.
Which is like already a warning.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Nostromo's computer... hold on. First, I'd be out of there.
I'd be out. I'd be like, out.
Done.
I'd be gone.
I don't care. No money. That's fine.
Especially in a second when you find out what they find. Yeah. I'd be gone. I'd be out. I would never get that close.
Right. Meanwhile, the Nostromo's computer, Mother, partially deciphers the signal transmission, which Ripley determines to be some type of warning.
Yeah. If the alien life form is sending out a post-warning signal, maybe listen.
Yeah. I feel like at that point that would that doesn't mean you wouldn't get the money. It just means you were being safe about stuff. So
Nope.
yeah.
Nope.
Anyway,
Yep.
Kane discovers a vast chamber containing numerous eggs. The eggs are covered with a thin layer of mist and are activated when the mist is removed.
Gross.
Yeah. Ew. Kane can see that there is organic life inside the egg. When he touches one of the eggs, a spider-like creature springs out, penetrates his helmet, and attaches itself to his face.
Gross.
Face huggers.
Gross.
Yeah. Dallas and Lambert carry the unconscious Kane back to the Nostromo. As the acting senior officer, Ripley refuses to let them aboard, citing quarantine regulations, which requires 24 hours of mandatory decontamination.
Yeah.
But Ash overrides her and allows the crew back into the ship.
Fucking just stupid.
Dumb as hell. You go into an alien spacecraft, it don't matter if you're besties.
Yeah.
You quarantine.
Yeah. Spoiler warning. Skip ahead. While Parker and Brett work on repairing the Nostromo, Ash attempts to remove the creature from Kane's face. When Ash tries to pull, one of the creature's digits. It tightens its tail around Kane's neck, strangling him. He stops when he discovers that its highly corrosive acidic blood could harm Kane and potentially damage the ship's hull. A small trickle of the creature's blood, which drops from a small incision, was able to eat through 3 layers of decks on the ship. Which is crazy.
Bye.
Yeah. Eventually, the creature detaches on its own and is found dead. With the ship repaired, the crew resumes their trip back to Earth. Kane awakens, seemingly unharmed. But during a meal before re-entering stasis, he begins to choke and convulse until an alien creature bursts from his chest, killing him and escaping into the ship.
I hate the way it crawls.
Agreed. Yes, agreed.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I can be more clear about that. Yeah.
And of course, lacking conventional weapons, the crew attempts to locate and capture the creature by fashioning motion trackers, electric prods, and flamethrowers.
Yeah.
Because that's a good idea
On a
out in
ship.
space.
Yeah.
Brett follows the crew's cat into a large room where the now fully grown alien attacks him and disappears with his body into the ship's air shafts. Dallas enters the ducts with a flamethrower, intending to force the creature into an airlock, but is attacked himself. Parker later finds only the flamethrower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Ripley tried to tell y'all,
Yeah.
but
But no.
people don't listen to women, so.
No.
But that's.
Yeah.
Anyway, Lambert implores the remaining crew members to escape in the ship's shuttle, but Ripley, now in command, explains that the shuttle will not support 4 people and insists on continuing Dallas's plan to flush out the alien. While accessing Mother, Ripley discovers that the crew was awoken and directed to the planet because the company secretly ordered Ash to return with the alien for study and to consider the crew expendable.
Great.
Yeah.
A clause they didn't even know about.
Yeah. She confronts Ash, who tries to kill her.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, Parker intervenes, knocking Ash's head loose and revealing him to be an android.
Bam, bam.
The survivors reactivate Ash's head, and he confirms the company's orders. Ash states that the alien is not easily killed and expresses his admiration for it, taunting them about their chances of survival.
So messed up. Also, why would you want to bring this thing back?
I don't know. Because they like death.
You know?
The crew decides to self-destruct the Nostromo and escape in the shuttle. While gathering supplies, Parker and Lambert are killed by the alien.
Yep.
Now alone, Ripley initiates the self-destruct sequence, but the alien blocks her path to the shuttle. She retreats and unsuccessfully attempts to abort the self-destruct. She reaches the shuttle unhindered with Jones, narrowly escaping as the Nostromo explodes.
Because the cat survives.
Yes. Yeah. As Ripley prepares for stasis, she discovers the alien has stowed itself in a narrow compartment. She dons a spacesuit and flushes it out. It approaches Ripley, but before it can kill her, she opens the airlock door. The resulting explosive decompression almost ejects the alien into space, but it hangs onto the door frame. Ripley fires a grappling hook gun to push it out and activates the engines, blasting the alien into space.
Mm-hmm.
After recording her final log entry, she places Jones, the cat, and herself into stasis for the trip back to Earth.
The end.
Crazy shit.
Yeah, a whole bunch of chaos kind of unfolds
And
there.
I bet if you were in the theaters watching that in the 70s,
Just absolutely terrified.
and mind-blowing and mind-boggling, but
Oh, yeah.
also super badass.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Before, because we did it kind of at the end of the episode last time, but before we get into all of this, all of the little specs and technical stuff, we do have an HHN update.
Yes.
So we do have some houses that were announced. We do have our adjacent universe, which was confirmed now to be a house. So it'll be kind of like a
Yay.
collection of different houses, different like moments.
In the Jason cinematic universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have El Artista, a Spanish haunting,
Which sounds really cool.
which is going to be very cool because it's in 19th century Spain. A tortured artist moves into an isolated country manor for inspiration, but the art comes alive and possesses him.
like that sounds like what museums should have been. You know what I mean?
It's very cool. It's very cool. It honestly, what it reminds me of is a video game called Layers of Fear, which is about an artist who his work literally comes back to haunt him. So
I'm really interested in that one, and I really hope that one's good.
It's very cool. And our most recent one that was literally posted a very short time ago was our exciting addition of Hatchet and Chains, Demon Bounty Hunters. In this Old West town, all hell is breaking loose. Red-hot lava demons are trying to possess everyone, melting everything in their path. Now, this one is actually from a scene from Slaughter Cinema 2. One of the movies that was displayed in there, this is one of those scenes as a fully fleshed out house.
Yeah, which is super cool.
And the other thing that we also noticed, because it hasn't been actually stated officially yet, is that we don't really know what Five Nights at Freddy's is this year.
Right.
Because so far everything that they've done, they've made sure that it says like new house announcement or like the new house or whatever. Whereas Five Nights at Freddy's just is like coming soon.
Yep.
And it's like, what does that mean?
Well,
Like,
I
I don't think it would be a good scare zone. Because that's not what Five Nights at Freddy's is.
No.
Like a haunted house is perfect for it.
because it's mazes and it's
Exactly. So I think it's going to be a haunted house. It's just weird that they didn't just like announce it like that.
Yeah. Right.
They tried to
Because
keep
if
it
it's not a house,
mysterious.
I don't think people are going to be very happy with that.
Yeah.
But however, I do think, all right, so I don't know if this is true or whatever, but apparently, like, I don't know if Universal was ready to announce it. But
Yeah.
the creator of FNAF was like,
Scott Cawthon.
yeah, he was, he said something about, I think he accidentally let it slip. And so they kind of just had to be
Gotcha.
like, here.
Yeah. Because also, I know very recently, his newest game came out, which was Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic. So I know that it may have been a situation where it kind of those two moments collided with each other. So that may be the bigger issue that occurred. And so, but those are our house updates for everything for HHN. Obviously, we're still waiting. We're going to get more information, more comments and everything else out when stuff appears, including scare zones and whatnot. So it's very exciting. But back to this. All right.
Back to regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah. The director is Ridley Scott.
A man who needs no introduction.
No introduction. This movie was released June 22nd, 1979. Its sequel is Aliens. Its budget was $11 million. What was its box office?
Almost 50.
Oh.
Almost 50 million.
And that's not bad. That's really good for the time, because if you do the monetary conversion,
Yeah.
that's a shit ton of money.
Although that also means they spent a shit ton of money on this movie.
Yes.
So
And I mean,
it makes sense.
we've literally talked about the fact that like last year another one of their movies came out.
Yeah.
So it's not a you know, they have a lot of movies in the Alien franchise, including, you know, the Alien versus Predator and all that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
and that's just because it did so well.
Exactly.
Like it was almost a 2-hour movie, hour and 57-minute runtime.
Yeah.
But it got 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it won an Academy Award for the best visual effects in 1980.
Yeah,
So,
I have a list of those, because
Yeah.
the stories by Ronald Shusett and Dan O'Bannon.
yeah.
And then you mentioned the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects.
Mm-hmm.
They also got a Saturn Award for Best Science Fiction Film,
Yep.
Best Direction for Scott, Best Supporting Actress for Cartwright, and a Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation, and way many more awards
Yeah.
and accolades just over the years.
Oh, for sure.
And then, obviously, it is a rated R film,
Mm-hmm.
and this one is sci-fi horror. Now, it's going to be kind of interesting because our next one is horror sci-fi. So it's interesting because depending on what comes first, really is what
Yeah.
is the main affecting piece of the film.
And I think it's interesting that we have 2 back-to-back so that we can kind of like see the dichotomy of
Yeah.
the 2.
Because it's also, I'm gonna say something that's also very painful for me. Because 2003 is an older film, and 2003 is an older film.
Yeah.
Old.
Yes.
We're old now.
Okay, listen.
We're old.
That is a film. I am a human. I am young.
Until someone says something, you're like, what is that? So you just just wait. But it's also like for our generational group, both films are older and their video quality is different, and so it's interesting to kind of also see like an early 2000s concept that's a similar, like, they're both sci-fi horror, but they both reflect it in very different ways. So, but yeah, you gotta.
Yeah.
We have it's a decent cast list.
Yeah. I put 7.
Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have an 8th, but I don't think you have the alien on there.
Yeah. No.
I do. So.
Yeah.
Hold
on.
Brain fart.
I guess I was trying to figure out what to do first. So the death count.
Oh, death count. Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost forgot.
I wrote these notes a while ago, so forgive me. But it says my death count is 7, and there are 7 people in the cast, but not everybody in the cast died. So is it mentioning the alien?
Probably.
Or did more
Because I have 8 people. 7 of them are dead.
Yeah. 7.
So.
All right. Yes.
If you're counting Alien, because you don't have Alien on there, so
Fair
it
enough.
is 7 deaths
Yeah.
with 1 survivor.
Yeah.
So yes, they are counting the Alien,
Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought. I was like, wait.
unless we want to say there's 2 survivors, because then
The
Jones the kitty.
The kitty baby. But our cast starts with Miss Sigourney Weaver.
The legend.
Yes.
The legend.
Yeah. Ellen Ripley. We also have Tom Skerritt as Dallas.
Yep.
Veronica Cartwright as Lambert. John Hurt as Kane. Ian Holm for Ash. Harry Dean Stanton as Brett. And then Yaphet Kotto as Parker.
And then I have Bolaji Badejo as the alien. And that's specifically, there were some other actors who were also, and I do have it in my notes, referencing their names. Let me just say this now. My notes are unnecessarily thick. and I had to stop quite literally because this would just be way too long. But he's Bolaji was the main one inside the suit when you would see the alien like full bodied. But there are some stunt based scenes and things that are like the other actors, because I think that there was like a total of 3 people who played
The alien.
and did stuff as the alien.
Yeah.
But Bolaji is the one that's kind of the main one for it.
Has the most suit hours.
Yes,
Yeah.
most definitely. But these notes are thickums.
All right. Well,
Thickums but gickums.
let's dive into it then.
All right. So, holy shit. Alrighty. So, widely regarded as one of the most frightening movies ever made. The 1979's Alien created an iconic horror monster, the Xenomorph. And probably one of the most visually, like, obviously aside from the Predator, but it is such a visually striking alien design.
Yes.
That's the only other one that I really love the visual of is in Ender's Game. Is the alien queen in that one is really beautiful, but this is just for a sinister alien look.
Yeah.
This guy,
Takes a kick.
sorry Predator, but this guy he's got the unsettling factor
You're
to
right.
him.
Yeah.
So a combination of genuine reactions, malfunctions, and restrictions caused by the use of practical effects made the Xenomorph much more scary and effective, because this was produced before CGI. So, Alien relied on practical effects exclusively to create its fearsome creature. So, this has several benefits. The biggest being that there was a physical monster on the set for the cast to properly interact with. Alien was filmed over 14 weeks from July 5th to October 21st, 1978. The principal photography took place at Shepperton Studio near London, while model and miniature filming was done at Bray Studios near Maidenhead, Berkshire. So production time was short due to the film's low budget
Sure.
and pressure from the 20th Century Fox to finish on schedule.
Yeah.
So filming actually began before many of the complex sets were even completed. So with Scott having to frame his shots to work around sections that were unfinished.
Oh shit.
So there
just
are
waited to film
scenes-
like the wide shots after it was done.
or it was just, this is the shot that we're doing because this isn't finished and I need this shot.
Yeah.
So that we can get stuff done on time. Now, our Xenomorph has many stages. And I have a nice little paragraph on each of them. So, our first stage of the Xenomorph's evolution in Aliens is an egg that opens up upon gestation.
Lovely.
Yummy. So as Kane, John Hurt's character, finds a chamber filled with xenomorph eggs, he approaches one and it opens. So the eggs were individually crafted with a hydraulic system to control the aperture, so the mouth opening, while computer-generated effects can produce different beautiful imagery. They restrict how an actor interacts with a subject and environment. So, Alien's stunning, elaborate sets greatly facilitated the actors' reactions. And the scene where Kane finds Alien's xenomorph eggs is improved because John Hurt was able to respond to it opening in person and genuinely. a technique used throughout filming Alien. So, the close-ups and perspective shots were filmed later. One simple yet compelling effect was to reverse footage of water dripping onto the eggs, creating an unearthly image of liquid dripping upwards. So they actually filmed it and then reversed it so that it gave that otherworldly feel to it. The egg itself was composed. You're gonna hate this. Okay. Some of the things on what they used to make these eggs. Okay. The egg itself was composed of translucent fiberglass filled with jelly. Ridley Scott wanted the alien larva inside to move, but could not achieve the desired effect. So the movement. So he actually makes a brief alien cameo. Director Ridley Scott himself dons a pair of rubber gloves and wiggles his fingers in the jelly.
Ew.
This lent the movement a natural physicality, creating a skin-crawling effect far more effective than could be created with
Just straight
with now
jelly.
computer-generated special effects.
Yes.
It's also a happy accident that arises in practical effects. Unforeseen hurdles and creative solutions can sometimes create a more effective scene. It certainly made the xenomorph's first appearance in Alien even more spine-tingling. This was added in the point of view shot, looking into the xenomorph egg from Kane's perspective, by using the lining of a cow's stomach
No.
to lend the creature a more organic and natural appearance, which explains why this xenomorph evolution is particularly revolting to look at.
Yeah, no.
So they used I assume they just went to a butcher shop.
I hope so.
They're not gonna. What do you think that they just went out to the field and cut open a cow and was like, "I'm gonna take your stomach for me"?
No.
They're not gonna just. They're gonna go to the store and go buy it.
I'm just saying, I hope it was ethical.
Obviously, they're just out there murdering cows.
If they come up with this kind of stuff,
It's gonna get grosser. Because the next one is the infamous face hugger.
Yep.
Is the second phase in the aliens' creation.
Yes.
So, leaping from within the egg, the face hugger latches onto Kane's helmet, wrapping its long tail around his throat and finger-like appendages around his face.
Yep.
Gross already.
Yeah.
The part of the xenomorph that first pounces was actually a sheep's intestine, continuing to use organs for a natural yet grotesque appearance.
Yes.
To achieve the startling leap, the filmmakers flipped this footage also,
Oh.
pulling the intestines and the alien from the other side, and then reversing the footage allows for the unnatural leaping effect and speed.
Yeah.
And later, Alien's Nostromo crew have removed the face hugger and are dissecting it. Alien director Ridley Scott himself arranged a selection of seafood on top of other props to create its visceral, grotesque flesh.
Oh, we just love these people's brains, don't we?
Oysters, clams, and mussels formed the underbelly of the xenomorph's facehugger stage.
Yep.
Yummy.
Yum.
Not only is this another example of Ridley Scott's personally preparing or performing practical effects, but also further demonstrating these effects allow for a more visceral engagement with an actor. So, faced with yet more flesh appearing on the set of Alien, which reportedly was beginning to smell, genuine reactions of disgust are visible on the cast's face.
Oh, yeah.
Because just fish
No,
and
thank
seafood
you. That's
just
so
hanging
evil.
about.
Why would you put your actors through that?
Girl, we know that actors have gone through some crazy ass shit.
I know, but
I mean, shit. The cast of fucking Unfriended were just for
Oh
two.
my
Just
God.
the whole shooting was stuck in their rooms.
Yep.
The whole time.
Ugh.
Look, man, there's some crazy shit. Hello, do we forget the Freddy Krueger?
No.
The cube
No.
of danger.
No.
The electric cube of danger.
That is actually what it is. Danger
Like,
box.
truly.
Danger box.
Truly.
Ooh.
Ugh.
That's disgusting. No thank you.
Mm-hmm.
If they made me have to put my face in that, I would simply ask them
Not to.
yes.
Well, you're lucky because this is 1979.
That is true.
So moving on to the third stage of the xenomorph's evolution, bursts out of Kane's chest in the most famous scene of Ridley Scott's Alien. So this is usually just referred to as the chest burster.
Yeah.
It doesn't have its own specific name. It's just the chest burster. And also has been played up in other sci-fi films. I know that in Spaceballs, they do make a joke of the chest burster
Yeah.
at like the end of the movie.
Yes.
Which is very fun. So the first shot of the chest burster was actually captured with the prop malfunctioning.
Mm-hmm.
So John Hurt lays on the table beneath a fake torso that hid his body. The chest burster was pushed through the fake torso from the other side, but they could not break through the fabric. So this created the image of the xenomorph covered in the bloodied cloth as blood violently spurted around.
Oh my god.
The scene was quickly ended and reset before too much could be revealed to the cast.
Oh.
But the shot was kept and remains highly effective. Now, a common misconception surrounding Alien's infamous chest burster scene is that the cast was unaware of how the scene would unfold.
Okay.
It's a misconception.
So what
Of
did they
course,
think?
the cast had read the script and
Right.
understood in advance what would happen. But there was no rehearsal.
Gotcha.
So, and the scale of the scene was a surprise as well. So it's not that they didn't know. They knew it was happening. They just didn't realize, like, how it was happening.
Right.
Because even Veronica Cartwright, who played the navigator Lambert, claims she was assured only a small amount of blood would splash her.
Right.
Despite this, Scott recalls a series of high-pressure pumps for the effects, stating they would blow blood everywhere.
Oh my god.
That
makes sense. It's bursting through your chest.
Exactly. The fact the entire crew was dressed in plastic overalls should have tipped the cast off, but regardless, the genuine shock and fear are palpable.
Damn.
Veronica Cartwright recalls being hit with a jet of blood.
Yep.
Which startled her so much that she accidentally fell over a chair.
Oh my god.
Her scream punctuates the scene, helping make it one of the most terrifying in cinematic history. Regardless of whether or how much the cast knew in advance, they each adamantly attest all of their reactions were genuine. A result only possible with practical special effects.
Yes.
So it's not that they didn't know. They knew, they just didn't know
The extent.
the extent of it. And the extent of it is what gave us their genuine, like, oh my fuck reactions. Which is very fun. So it's not necessarily, it's not a detriment on the film to say that they knew already. No, they knew because they're fucking actors and they have to read the script.
Right.
But, you know, it's fun when you hide the reveal of the scene from them. Is very fun. And then we have our final part of the evolution, which is the fully grown xenomorph. A terrifying combination of horror and science fiction.
Yes.
The beast is a costume worn by several performers, most notably Bolaji Badejo. Badejo was spotted in a London bar by Alien's cast director, who was struggling to find the appropriate performer to embody the xenomorph. They were immediately dazzled by Badejo's frame, which Scott recalls is almost 7 foot tall and incredibly slender. If you've seen the pictures of this man that are used from the film, he is so tall and so lanky. It's wild. So Badejo was the perfect choice to create human uncanniness, as well as a concurrent alien stature that the xenomorph required. So Badejo's performance gave life to the deadly monster, largely defining its movements and characteristics, and helps make Alien a science fiction classic.
Yes.
So the dependency on practical effects led directly to Badejo's casting, and in turn, the xenomorph's effectiveness. Badejo attended Tai Chi and mime classes in order to create convincing movements for the alien. And although Badejo was the principal alien actor, in several famous scenes, the creature was actually portrayed by stuntmen Eddie Powell and Roy Scammell. These include the scene where the fully grown creature is first revealed, when it lowers itself from the ceiling to kill Brett. In the sequence, a costumed Powell was suspended on wires and then lowered in a graceful unfurling motion.
Yeah.
Shots of the alien inside the vents also did not feature Badejo, as he simply could not fit inside the restrictive set. He was simply too big to fit.
Oh my god.
On the other hand, the xenomorph's face was mechanical, controlled by a series of hydraulic levers.
Yeah.
One of which would open the mouth and thrust the xenomorph's tongue out of its mouth, or its mini mouth, as many people have referred to it as.
Okay.
The mechanical creation assisted the tongue's speed, creating an incredibly expressive yet strange monster. But to make a man dressed in a costume appropriately horrifying, filmmakers must restrict visibility and disguise it artificially. The horror genre has always relied on audiences gazing into darkness and waiting for something to leap out.
Right.
Using practical effects made this process a necessity. This contributed greatly to the claustrophobic tension permeating Alien and how Scott toyed with his audience. Because I can definitely say that this film has a lot of tight spaces. A lot of moments where you're kind of hiding in like what feels like a cubby. It's definitely intense. Now, I have our my little closing thoughts, because I know there's so much shit I could talk about this fucking film, because there's so much. And this has to do with initial concept work.
There really is.
Truly. The initial concept work for the film was carried out by Ron Cobb and Chris Foss. The production was keen to ensure the sets of Alien had a unique look. According to production designer Michael Seymour, they were very concerned about avoiding any direct influence from previous space productions. They literally took the trouble to show themselves Star Wars, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Silent Running, and 2001 A Space Odyssey a couple of times. They watched those movies multiple times. Their objective was to avoid any clear reference to them. So they watched them so that they wouldn't copy anything from them.
That makes a lot of sense, and kudos to them.
Exactly. Originally, H.R. Geiger was only to design the titular alien, but as time went on, it was decided to have the Swiss artist work on all of the film's alien environments, including the planetoid and the derelict spacecraft. In this way, the extraterrestrial aspects were guaranteed to contrast with the look of the human spacecraft Nostromo, designed by Cobb. So the sets of the Nostromo's 3 decks were each created almost entirely in one piece, with each deck occupying a separate stage and the various rooms interconnected via corridors. To move around the sets, the actors had to navigate through the hallways of the ship, adding to the film's sense of claustrophobia and realism. The sets used large transistors and low-resolution computer screens to give the ship a used, industrial look to make it appear as though it was constructed of retrofitted old technology. So Cobb created a system of industrial-style symbols and color-coded signs for various areas and aspects of the ship. So that is the bulk
Yeah.
of my notes. I do have a last thing I do want to mention because I remember looking it up and kind of hearing about this, and it has to do with the aliens' acid blood. Was actually a mixture of foam and acetone.
Oh.
Because what it was is that they made like the parts of the ship that the blood would go through were made of foam, and because acetone eats through foam, they used that as the mixture so that they could get that effect of it melting.
That's crazy.
Literally
Yeah.
the ship apart. But
I wish all movies were that innovative now.
and I know I did not talk about the man, the myth, the legend, H.R. Geiger enough, but his creation and influence is all over this movie. Like I said, he literally made the alien design. He literally made the alien areas and things like that. I mean, one of the coolest visual concepts of the alien that I love is the fact that there's actually like what looks like a human skull underneath
Right. Yeah.
the initial head plate, which is indicative of the idea that, which honestly, my theory on that is that it kind of forms a skull
Yeah.
based on the thing it comes out of. So maybe when they found that derelict ship, maybe possibly the alien that came out of that had a similar skull shape to had like the
Yeah.
skull underneath that mimicked.
I like that. I like that theory.
I think that's a very
good
cool
one.
concept
That's
because
very cool.
it's a human skull under there.
Right.
And so it's the idea, well, it burst out of a human. So it would have that aspect because it kind of, in a very gross and very disgusting way, he gave birth to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's true.
not surprised. But yeah, that is my very thick collection of notes.
Yeah.
Holy shit, there's so much information on
well,
this
I've-
fucking movie. It's unreal.
I've got more for you.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So
Because you just have... Because this is also, I think, our first alien
Yes.
film. Which is fun because I think our next film is our first one of that type
yes.
as well. So it's
I
kind
agree.
of fun.
I will say, just because this is our first alien film does not mean I'm actually going into the lore of aliens this time.
No, because we will have other alien films.
There will be more opportunities, but because we chose this one, and you just said you didn't talk enough about the man, the myth, the legend, H.R. Geiger.
Thank you. I was hoping to God that you had him in there.
I have so much.
Good,
I have
good.
paragraphs on paragraphs about his early life and like how he got into art.
Beautiful.
And,
Thank God.
How he influenced this movie because yes.
his art style is fucking
Yeah.
wild.
And if you get a chance, please look it up. Yeah, there are books.
I literally
and
have a book
books
on my
and-
bookshelf that is his art stuff
Just,
because
yeah.
your dad gave it to me.
Yeah.
He's very God, the visuals
Yeah.
of his work
Yeah.
is just so fast. Like, how did he come up with that? Where did that come
I don't
from?
know, but
It's some crazy
well,
shit.
Actually, let's dive into that.
Hell yeah, let's
right.
go, man.
So, let's go. So, his full name, Hans Rudy Geiger. He was born on February 5th in 1940 in Chur, Switzerland. So, his father was a pharmacist, but he viewed art as a breadless profession.
Oh, shit.
And strongly encouraged him to pursue a more conventional career.
Thank God he didn't listen.
Yeah, because of Geiger's mother, actually. His mother
hell
was,
yeah, Mom.
Yes, his mother was very supportive of his artistic inclinations. Although she didn't always understand his darker fascinations, because it's like, yeah, go do art, although it's kind of creepy, but love you anyway, you know? Growing up, he grew up in the family's apartment above the Steinbach pharmacy where his father worked. He was surrounded by an environment that would influence his art. He recalled that the lamps in their home were always a bluish dark, to avoid detection by enemy bombers, because he actually grew up during World War II. So that obviously created a huge atmosphere of tension and fear while he was growing up. So that would later manifest into all of these dark and themes that show up in his art.
Yeah.
In 1946, Geiger began his formal education. He went to the Catholic Marienheim Kindergarten before transferring to Aunt Gritley's Reform Kindergarten.
Because, of course, he ended up going to a reform school.
Yes. You know, when you have dark thoughts. And...
You know, some of the greatest artists probably all would have gone to reform schools without question.
Yeah, but all of his education was a blend of traditional and progressive influences, so that also helped later artistic development.
Yeah.
He completed high school in 1958 and then obtained a certificate in drawing and pursued practical training with an architect named
Let's go.
Venatius Mason.
Cool.
Yes.
I like how his last name is so basic, and then his first name's like
Venatius
Mason.
Well, actually, Mason is spelled like Maisen, so it's like Mason.
Yeah.
And a building contractor, Hans Stetter in Chur, so still in Switzerland. During this period, he also attended military school in Winterthur.
Okay.
He served as a mortar gunner in the light troops. So that also gave him more of a foundation in structure and form. So that would also influence his work. From 1962 to 1965, so for 3 years, he studied architecture and industrial design at the School of Applied Arts in Zurich.
Okay.
So during his time here, he produced ink drawings titled Adam Kinder.
Okay.
Which is, I guess, I don't know. What I know, because kindergarten is in German. I know that's garden of kids, right? So I don't know if that has anything to do with Adam Kinder.
We could look it up real quick to see
Adam Kinder, whichever, I don't know.
Whatever.
Anyway, they were actually published in the school newspaper in Chur. He worked with lots of different mediums to try and develop his unique style. So he worked with, I don't even know how to pronounce this. I don't even know what this is, but it says, oh, yes, I do. Come on. Tasha says, or whatever it is. I don't know. How do you say that?
What?
Yeah, Tasha Days. He worked with tempera on paper and other mediums.
Yeah.
And then in 1966, after graduating from School of Applied Arts, he worked as a designer with somebody named Andreas Christian. So he focused on, it was an office furniture program. Yeah, so he was working at this like designer job, but then at nights he would create larger ink drawings, and he would use a toothbrush and wire to apply ink onto like a Transcot paper, and then like a whole bunch of different, he just experimented with so many different things.
He didn't try to stick with any of the traditional forms of medium.
Yeah. And like he even used like razor blades to like scrape things off and create highlights for stuff. So
Hell
it's
yeah.
like crazy.
Play with your tools. You're an artist.
Yes.
What most artists don't remember is that there is no set way on how to do art.
Correct.
It's actually why I haven't picked up my camera. Is because I'm kind of softly I obviously will retain the technical skills that I learned, but I am trying to reverse the mentality that I have about photography from school.
Gotcha. Yep.
Because
yeah,
I distinctly remember having teachers say art can't just be pretty. Your reason can't be I just like it. Which is not real.
Yeah, that's not true.
So if it's part of the hindrance of it is there's almost a lack of creativity
right
in that.
It's
and
because
self-expression
college, I will say,
is very
I've
structured.
I noticed in the college setting that everything you do, it's not just about being because you like it. There always has to be some purpose
reason
behind it.
Yeah.
Because they're just trying to get you in the mindset of like seeing different aspects and different sides of things and being able to problem solve and come up with new ideas.
But
for
what's
stuff.
even stupider is that then you have moments in your class where your teachers are telling you about other artists and their process, and they're like, they'd only ever take one picture. They'd frame it, take it, and they'd leave.
Yep. And it's
or
like,
they just take it and they'd be like, I just liked the lighting. And I'm like, yes, that's the reality of art, is that you just do it to do it.
Yeah. It's 'cause
other people can interpret all the fuck they want out of it.
It's curriculum. They're just teaching a curriculum.
So, it still makes me laugh that I had the book that literally one of our books in class literally told us, like, when you're done with college from photography,
just chill.
Just don't.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yes, I need to unlearn.
Right.
And I need to get back to just more of the just pure
Taking
creative.
pictures to take pictures.
Yeah. I just like it.
Yes, please do. I miss your photos.
So, yeah.
But yeah, art is whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
But
and he made it what he wanted.
He made it what he wanted, but that was basically just his life and his training, and he went to lots of art schools.
Yeah.
And even though his dad wasn't very supportive, his mom was, and there were lots of dark things happening around him that kind of attributed to these darker themes within his artwork. But now I'm going to talk a little bit more about like the birth of the xenomorph, and how H.R. Geiger even came on to this project.
Yeah.
So his breakthrough came when director Ridley Scott discovered his work in sorry, I practice the names, and then when it comes to say them, no.
You know what? It's better that we tried.
Necronomicon.
Yes, that's
Yay!
the correct word. Yeah, Necronomicon.
Okay. So discovered his work in Necronomicon. So while searching for design for the alien creature in the movie.
Yeah.
So he had this idea, but he still didn't know what he wanted the creature to look like. But he was particularly drawn to the illustration titled Necronom 4.
Cool.
Which, within this book of H.R. Geiger's, which depicted a sinuous phallic skull entwined with mechanical elements.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
H.R. Geiger has a lot of phallic imagery
Yes,
in his
if
work.
you did not know, now
like
you do.
Like a lot.
Like
a lot.
There's a lot.
Like a lot.
Based on it, pretty. Like some of it is based on it, I would say. Yeah.
Like a phallic part of the body?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
That, let's add some veins, some weird shit, and throw some machinery
biomechanical
in it.
stuff, and you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty much H.R. Geiger. Very dark, blacks, grays.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hints of blues and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And after that, Scott invited Geiger to join the film's production team.
Hell yeah.
So Geiger's, as you mentioned before, he designed the xenomorph.
Yes.
So his design was deeply rooted in this biomechanical aesthetic. He envisioned the creature as a biomechanoid.
Cool.
So a fusion of organic and mechanical forms. So the xenomorph, if you don't really know like what it looks like, it's like
how
yeah,
at this point. Shit, I put a sticker of the xenomorph on my fucking suitcase over there.
There you go, yeah. But just in case you don't know and you haven't seen, the xenomorph is like a black type of creature, eyeless, like faceplate with a very elongated head. It's super long. and sleek. And then it also has like a ribbed body,
So cool.
which was crafted to evoke the to show beauty and terror.
It is truly a stunning creation.
Yes.
Its silhouette is fucking top notch.
Yeah. Like a very cool design. But Geiger, he designed it, but he also like created it. So he incorporated. We're gonna get into more gross stuff. So I was honestly,
let's go.
Yeah, I was honestly expecting what you were saying about like lamb parts and things, because I was like, ugh. But Geiger, for this creature, he used real world materials in the design, and the suit was actually constructed using parts from an old Rolls-Royce car.
Okay.
Yeah, rib bones,
Not surprised.
and the vertebrae from a snake,
Okay.
molded with plasticine.
Cool.
So, also, the Xenomorph's animatronic head contained 900 moving parts and was
Holy
designed and constructed by special effects designer Carlo Rambaldi.
That's just legit. That is such a... The head is so striking.
Yes.
Just its full length and just the silhouette is just...
Yeah.
It's truly a piece of art.
It genuinely is.
A walking piece of art.
But one of the most like distinctive contributions Geiger made was the Xenomorph's inner jaw, which was a secondary set of pharyngeal jaws located at the tip of a long tongue, like
So his second mouth.
tongue
Like
proboscis.
chompy teethies.
Yes. So that feature allowed the Xenomorph to strike rapidly,
Yes.
which added to it being so predatory.
And it's like a bright silvery like whitish color. So it's when it opens its mouth, it's so visibly striking from the rest of its very dark, inky, like shiny black body.
Yep. It's crazy stuff. It genuinely is. I don't know how, but they're like the Xenomorph itself. There are so many stages and then abilities for each of these stages.
Yes.
It's like, honestly, like,
And also, we're just also just talking about the base Xenomorph.
yeah.
There are other versions
Yeah.
of the Xenomorph.
I mean, I can talk a little bit about that. Here I have, the first stage out of 6, I believe, like some of them are optional, apparently.
yeah,
But the first one
because they can choose.
Yeah, right. Because the first one is the ovomorph, which is the egg, which is laid by the queen, but can also be manufactured by drones, through egg morphing, apparently.
Yep.
But the eggs lie dormant, sometimes for years, until they sense hosts nearby, and then they open and launch.
So you can see where the crew of the Nostromo fucked up.
Yes, they open, and that's when the face launcher gets, or the face hugger gets launched. Yeah.
Yep.
So then that is the second stage. So the second one we talked, face hugger.
Face hugger.
So they have 8 powerful
Fingies.
triple jointed legs or
It looked
fingers.
like fingies.
Yes,
That's
and then
gross.
the long tail, that allows them to leap like that, and from the egg to grab onto
Just
their face.
gross.
Yeah. So.
And they're just this like gross, pale, fleshy
Yes.
color.
Yeah, pale fleshy
Ugh.
color. Yeah, because lamb,
gross.
they're made from lamb, apparently.
So
But
gross.
once they latch onto your face, they deliver like a cyanose-based paralytic, which induces the unconsciousness.
Yeah.
But it keeps
have,
its
like,
host alive for embryo implantation.
And it's like a fucking tube that goes through the mouth and into the body.
Yep.
Into the
Yep.
the stomach, and then it fucking
Yep.
deposits.
Yeah, but if the chemical thing fails, then they'll just stick the tail in.
Ah.
Yeah. So it'll insert the proboscis down the throat and then
So
inject
gross.
the and then it'll inject the fluid that triggers the host cell,
So gross.
restructuring into the embryo.
Just gross.
And then after implantation, it detaches and then dies. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Gross.
removal attempts are fatal
Yep.
because of the acid, and then
It's a protect.
It would
it's a
also rip through.
warning protection
victim.
mechanism.
Yeah. So then after that, we have stage 3,
Yep.
which also known as emergence and genetic adaptation, if you will. So after 8 to 24 hours, the chest burster bursts through the host's chest, killing them. So so it says this process plagiarizes about 10 to 15% of the host's DNA.
Which
Yes.
explains
Yes.
the skull
Yes.
theories.
While you were talking about like the different stages, and then you were just mentioning like the
All the technical aspects
technical,
of it.
I went back and I was like, wait a minute. Here is what it does.
Cool.
So yeah, it is.
See, I gave you the technicals of like how they made it in the movie,
In the
but
movie.
she's giving you like if this alien actually existed, here's what it does.
Yes.
And it's the let us never meet.
Yes, please. But then it adapts the xenomorph traits, like quadruplism, size, or even predator mandibles.
Gross.
They're initially vulnerable, but then the burster escapes quickly, hides, and then grows into adulthood,
Yes.
like molting,
Which is
rapidly.
what it did. It did very
So
quickly.
that's where this part is like optional. It can go into like the part 4. It can go into like cocoon or pupa stage.
Yeah.
But that's seen more in like Romulus.
Yes.
So after it bursts out, it may cocoon and then undergo a molting phase before childhood.
Yeah.
But then we go into stage 5, which is adult, which they can also be known as either drone, warrior, runner, or praetorian.
And all of those have different visual looks.
Yes.
And all have different abilities and jobs.
Yes.
When I say this is a fucked up Pokemon,
Yes.
it's a fucked up Pokemon.
Yes. So for full grown
I choose you, Xenomorph.
Yeah.
Go drone.
Yeah. Go drone.
Yeah, for real.
Go drone. For the full grown like original xenomorphs, they have that ridged, smooth head that I was talking about.
Which
and
we
then,
see in the movie.
Yeah, and then they have segmented tails, razor claws with that inner jaw.
Yeah.
And then a sprint speed.
They're fast as fuck.
They can climb on the wall and the ceiling.
Yep. Fast as fuck, boy.
Yeah, so super cool. But then they also have superhuman strength, stealth, acid blood,
Yep.
the inner jaw execution attacks, and then there are runners, so from animal hosts.
Yep.
So they're faster and more agile
So they're taking the genetics from the animal.
from the animal. And then the praetorians emerge from larger host lineage, or cocooning into a protective caste.
Cool.
And then drones search for hosts to expand the hive.
Yeah.
And then warriors protect and reinforce. Praetorians guard the queen.
Yeah.
And then over time, a drone may
Like
go into a higher, like,
may evolve into
Yeah.
something else.
yes.
Which means they can evolve
Yes.
beyond the evolutions that they do.
Yeah, into higher castes. And then the 6th one would be the queen.
The queen.
So they stand at about 15 to 20 feet tall.
Massive.
The queens have double arms,
Mm-hmm.
massive head crest, like
Massive.
yeah, and something called an ovipositor to lay eggs.
Yeah.
And it often sits on like a biomechanical type throne.
Yeah.
They're very smart. They can problem solve to defend that hive.
Yeah.
And their nest, because even using the simplest technology, they're very, very smart.
Yeah.
Because it is about saving their babies,
people.
their eggs.
Yeah.
But in the absence of a queen, that's when hormonal changes in a mature drone can
Yeah.
induce that development.
Yeah.
Um,
So drones are more likely a chance to become a queen versus the
yes,
other ones.
Yes, correct. Yep, because then you have like the warriors, the runners, and then
Because the
praetorians.
drones already are looking for hosts, which means they're
Yeah.
already minded towards the eggs. So I can
Yeah.
understand that one having the faster
Yeah.
track to becoming a queen if there's no queen active.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that these queens are massive, I've seen the pictures of like people who've drawn them and then drawn the other ones, and I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah. No, thank you.
No thanks.
No, thank you.
No thank you. I'd rather not.
Correct.
Let's say we did and then not.
Agreed.
Yeah. Alrighty. Is that all your notes?
That's all I got.
Oof.
There's a lot,
It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff. We doing good. But
We
you
are.
got a 1-star for me.
I do. It's short because I couldn't be bothered. I was like, I'm sick of these people.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Not shocked if majority of them were like, well, it's older and it looks shoddy because it's an older film. And I'm like, well, you're modern people, so you need to shut up.
actually, no. It has nothing to do with it being old. It just shits on it, basically.
Well, I mean, like
okay.
other commenters, you know what I mean?
I didn't really see a whole lot of that. It was
Okay.
honestly like, no, there was. Yeah.
Like, just because it's an older film.
Yep. But here's this one.
Let's do it.
Scott is a lousy director.
Inaccurate already.
A great visual artist, but not good at directing. Geiger is a degenerate who painted monsters and hellish images all his life, and the whole horror genre is by and large a pit of degeneracy.
The fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Hear it all.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, fuck
Yeah.
off completely.
That's why I'm like, okay. This film is an effective horror and does impress visually in many ways. It also has a memorable soundtrack, but at the end of the day, it is just nasty, and I'm sick and tired of nasty imagery poisoning my mind. Shove it down the toilet.
How about you just don't watch it?
Correct.
If you don't like, quote, quote, nasty images, maybe you don't watch them. It's not for you, dickhead. It's for the rest of us who do.
Right?
Fucking calling the entire horror genre like filled with degenerate.
And just, we're all degenerates, and
Shut
we
the fuck
all
up.
should be down the toilet.
Also, that absolute disrespect towards Geiger.
No, literally, after I just explained how,
Just absolute disrespect.
like, where his
That-
whole background comes from and why he is the way
That
he
man is a
and-
genius artist.
Mhm.
The fuck are you talking about? Have you
Who-
actually seen his work?
Like,
Come on.
seriously, his art, like, it explores so many themes just of sexuality,
Yeah.
death, the fusion of man and machine. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, it's all surreal and biomechanical, and it's just
And it's beautiful fucking work.
so cool.
Like, this movie was great. Period.
Yep.
If you don't like horror, don't fucking watch it, you dipshit.
The way that absolutely enraged you.
I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You literally shat on an entire genre and then bitched about how that genre plays out. And I'm like, just don't watch that genre.
Yeah, correct.
I don't watch war movies and then go and shit on the war movie because I don't like war movies.
Correct.
I just don't watch war movies, and therefore I don't have to deal with it. The closest war movie you're going to get to see me to watch is something fantasy related, like Lord of the Rings,
Yep.
or fucking the closest is fucking Forrest Gump.
Yep.
And that's about as close as I'm getting. If it ain't a fantasy war, I ain't watching it.
Because why are we glorifying war, first
Yeah.
of all?
Like,
That's a whole other topic, though.
if
That
you
honestly-
like your some of them, like, I get that there's some that have documentaries and some are stuff, like, I get it. You have your stuff. That's what you like. I don't. So I'm not going to watch them. So if you don't like a genre, instead of watching it and then shitting on it because the genre's doing what the genre does, maybe don't watch it
Correct.
before you open your mouth and say something stupid like that. Yeah. Like literally shitting on a genre for doing their job. You just prove that they did their job.
Literally. Like, this whole thing is just,
How dare horror
my
be
God.
horror?
it's all a paradox.
For real. For real.
It's fine.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
I agree.
All right. Our next episode, which is our great 28 days later. Which is actually funnily timed because we planned this like last year and didn't realize that 28 years later was coming out.
right.
So this is like beautifully timed. that we did our 28 Days Later episode.
But also just like, and I don't mean to go there, but like politically too.
Politically too. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of that within it, but
Yeah.
but it's 28 Days Later is our next film. Now, there's a chance that next year, because unfortunately we have the rest of the year already planned out. But next year, I do know that there's a couple movies that came out this year that I do want to make sure that are on our reviewing list for next year. So don't worry, those who desperately want us to possibly talk about Sinners. I get it. We're going to do it. We'll talk about something other than vampires. I promise. Because vampires, we've done a lot of vampire movies, but so we can focus on a little bit of other stuff. And then obviously 28 years later, we'll probably also have that on there as well, just because, hello. And then there's some other movies that are coming out later this year that will, no matter what, be put into the following year. Like a certain sequel to a certain Fazbear company. But aside from that, don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, share it, and all of that good stuff. You can send us an email at horrorunmasked@gmail.com. You can listen to us on all of the places. Again, let us know if there's any place that you would like us to go on to. And I think with that,
There's only one thing left to ask. Will you fear?
or will you fear not?